So basically, it's been a while since my last video, so I just want to give a quick channel update. Basically, I'm working on a new space to, work on, clean up and repair consoles, as well as do captures and, even record video and stuff like that. Because basically, the space where I'm working at now is better for relaxing and playing games, not really for making YouTube videos. So I'm working on a place that's better to do that, has a little bit more space, and where I can display my classic games a little bit better. Because like my PS2 games, I don't even have. They're in a garage, in a box in the garage. So basically, I'm working on that. So in the meantime, videos are going to be a little bit slower while I try to get everything ready. So hopefully in another month or so, I can start bringing out the videos a little bit quicker. Now that everything's all up to date, the focus of this video will be playing imported games. So these days, I think most people have at least a few imported games in their collection, but it wasn't always like that. Back when it first started, before the internet, they were fairly hard to get, so there wasn't a whole lot of protection for that kind of stuff. They didn't want you to buy imported games, but basically back in the 16-bit days, they just kind of had different shaped cartridges to try to prevent you from doing that, and that was the main thing. You could get by that with game genies or things like that, or even modifying your consoles. But basically in the Super Nintendo days, basically the Super Nintendo had a couple of notches in the US version, you can see on the bottom there, whereas the Japanese and European cartridges were kind of rounded, so they couldn't take the square cartridge from the US, and the US could not take something that didn't have the notch cut in it. So basically it was just kind of a mechanical way to stop people from importing. Moving on to the CD days, with the Saturn, obviously discs are discs, so there wasn't really a way to do that. So kind of what they did is they put in software protections, region protections. Basically, the disc had the information on which region it was from. So that made it a little bit more difficult. So you could still get game genies and stuff to bypass that, so it wasn't really that difficult. Looking at the Saturn, it really didn't do extremely well in the US, but it did better pretty much everywhere else. So there's a lot of games, really good games, that are available only in Japan, which kind of plus they have the typical regular jewel cases, which don't look as nice, but they are a lot easier to replace. The thing is about those, and you can see here on the PlayStation as well, is they had English on one side, which kind of made it nice for collecting. PlayStation didn't do it as much. You can see some of them are still in Japanese, but pretty much all the Saturn games had English on one side and Japanese on the other. So that made it really nice for collecting. So in the PS2 and OG Xbox days, there wasn't a whole lot that you could do with importing games other than buying an imported console. So I pretty much skipped those, but moving into the 360 days, things got a little bit easier, and as you can see here, Raiden was kind of one of the only shmups that were available on the 360, but there were a lot available via import, and importing became a lot easier. Games like the Wonder Pack that you can see here were excellent shmups that were only available in Japan. But you could just import them and play them. You don't really need to understand a whole lot of Japanese, obviously, being a basic shooter. But you could put them in your US console and play them. So these were actually pretty easy to pick up and play. So I imported a few of these, and actually, people don't generally think of the 360 with shmups, but there are quite a few good ones. Basically just arcade ports, but they were, not available in the US. Here's a Dodonpachi Resurrection. This is actually a European version, but it was not available. I think it's available digitally in the US, but not in any physical copies. So I imported a European one, and then the PS3 was basically the same. You can see here. This is Everybody's Golf, which is basically Hot Shots Golf, but I wanted to double up on on trophies, so I bought that. And then you can see Okami here, basically Okami HD. It was available digitally in the US, but not physically, so I picked this up. Unfortunately, the next generation, it actually became available physically in the US, so I have that for Xbox One as well. But, at the time, this was all you could get. And then moving into the modern generation, actually, you can pretty much buy any import and play it. Whereas it was limited in the 360 and PS3, anything will play now. They're all no region locks. Whether it's a game you want to pick up that's not available here, or something like Skyrim here that I picked up for basically like half price for the European version, it was basically half the price on eBay versus the US version, or a game here that's basically limited availability but only in Europe. So I picked this one up. And then IAVT, which is actually a really good rhythm game, but is only in Japan, and it comes in a nice collector's box. So I picked that up as well, and that plays perfectly. And then Phoenix Wright is actually one of the first games that I got that actually is one of the ones that I really like, where you buy the Japanese disc and it actually plays and is recognized as a US version, the same way as if you bought it US digital. So it actually comes up fully in English, gives you all the US trophies and everything, and it comes, the Japanese version is in a nice collector's box. So you basically get a collector's edition and everything for really not that much money compared to what you would spend digitally on the US version, and it plays exactly the same. Lethal League Blaze on the Switch is another one that's like that. Unfortunately, I bought that. I thought it was cool that I got it and it came out to look like the US version, but now it's on Game Pass for the Xbox, so I kind of wasted it because I could have played it for free. It was really cheap though in Japan. I think it was like $15 plus shipping. And then I Am Setsuna is another one, and this one's kind of unique because it actually came with an English sleeve as well. So I actually got a second case, so I have a Japanese case and a English one. And then one step for me, unfortunately, is just the opposite. This, you can see, was made by Humble Games, and it comes with every language on disc except for English. So the game was made in English, but they actually will not let you play it in English. Akiba's Trip is an interesting one because the new one, which is a remake of the original game. This one is interesting because although it is the Japanese version, and your console will recognize it as the Japanese version with Japanese achievements and everything like that, the game actually fully plays in English. Not only are the subtitles in English, but all the voiceovers are in English, all the menus are in English, all the artwork, everything. It is basically the US or European version in a Japanese case, and it gives you Japanese trophies, which is a completely different trophy set from the US. So this one is very unique. Anyway, that will do it. I've kind of gone through all the different types of imports and how they've changed over the years. And remember to like, share, and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you next time.